Hi everyone, and welcome to week 7.5, our final week of BUSS420 Project Management. It may not look as busy as previous weeks, but we only have 4 days to complete it in. And we do have a chapter to read in our textbook, a 3-part discussion question, and then the final exam, and a reminder to upload your final portfolio project to your optimal resume. So our reading for the week, in addition to the lectures up in Angel, we have Chapter 14 from our textbook on project closure and termination. And here we'll examine the closeout process, early termination for projects, and the final project report itself. So here's a familiar Gantt chart of walking through a simple waterfall methodology of analysis, design, and implement, and finally our closure phase. And our closure phase is unique to project management because as opposed to ongoing organizational activities, a project has a finite life. Now, projects can end or terminate for many reasons. Pinto points out termination by extinction, either successful or unsuccessful conclusion. Termination by addition, maybe your project is absorbed by the parent organization. Termination by integration, where project resources are reabsorbed back into the organization. And finally, termination by starvation, or just a willful form of neglect and the project dies on the vine. Now, this illustration from our textbook, Pinto identifies 7 elements of project closeout management. They include finishing the work, handing over the product, and gathering acceptance for it. Then we have to harvest the benefits and review how our whole project process went. Throughout this time, we're putting it all to bed, and we're disbanding the team to either go back to their functional organizations or on to other projects. Now, part of reviewing how it all went is something we call lessons learned, and this is usually a meeting that is realistic and a critical review of the project. And whenever you have something like that, you need to establish clear ground rules for behavior and be objective and focus on fixing problems and not assigning blame. Now, this is all part of a continuous improvement cycle. Now, errors during this stage include misidentifying systematic errors, applying or misinterpreting approaches, and failing to pass along lessons to future projects, and that's vital to becoming a learning organization. Now, putting a project to bed, that means filing all your documentation away for later retrieval, dealing with any legal closure, finalizing costs, and then disbanding the team or the personnel, like I said, either back to the functional organization or onto other projects. Now, disbanding the team takes 2 forms. It can be formal. Detailed performance reviews can be conducted, and then they can be returned to their functional departments. And this can be accompanied by stress or uncertainty because someone has become so familiar with their job as part of the project, and when it comes to an end, well, there's stress. And informally, you can disband the team by conducting an end-of-project party and with individual or team recognition. Now, what prevents effective closeouts? And that's, well, taking shortcuts or getting official sign-off too early before everything has been put to bed. Now, also what happens is closeout activities, well, they take a lower priority to those active projects that are running in parallel with yours that is closing. Lessons learned can often be viewed as a simple bookkeeping exercise and not lessons to be learned and passed forward to future projects. And there's no carryover from project to project. A lot of different difficulties in having an effective closeout. Now, early termination is a topic dealt with in our textbook, and there are many good reasons to end a project early before it's completed. There are so many different dynamic factors at work. You can have some technical factors. Perhaps you started off on a technology and it's difficult to achieve the performance results you were looking for, and we saw some of that with solar panels. Another factor are political forces. Maybe it lacks top management commitment. And we saw this earlier in the 2000s when it came to electric cars. Projects can end early because of economic factors. Higher costs are encountered, or there are lower returns on the investment. And I think that's eventually what led to the end of the Space Shuttle program. There are a number of environmental factors also at work. Perhaps there are better alternatives or increased competition in a particular industry. And I think we saw that with video rentals, and Blockbuster certainly had their problems when red boxes began appearing at local supermarkets and department stores. Increased competition. Another dynamic factor is, well, users or consumers. Market factors change over time, and maybe there's a lower market need. And certainly we have seen the rise and fall of the Cabbage Patch Kids and Tickle Me Elmo. Now, a project termination report summarizes the project performance in terms of the triple constraints: budget, schedule, and function. Administrative performance, organizational structure, impacts on the operating structure, for example, team performance and their effectiveness, techniques of project management and how we did in managing process and process improvements, and the benefits to the organization and the customer. Did we meet or achieve the goals and objectives of the original project? I guess that's enough for the textbook for now. Let's get on to our discussion topic for the week, and that's BUSS 420 Lessons Learned. Now this is due by day 4, which is Monday by midnight, the very last day of class. And it's a 3-parter. It asks you to describe project termination techniques, and we talked about a few right here in this video. And now the second part is using that same PM skills assessment we took way back in week 1, retake it and compare your results. Provide a couple of sentences based on your observations of the skills you've learned throughout this course. And then the last part is, please reflect on at least three concepts you have learned about project management you didn't know before the start of this class. Indicate how you might use these concepts in the future in either your personal, academic, or professional life. And how has what you learned about project management actually changed your thinking process? And when we think about lessons learned, we can return to the PMI structure of their key process areas. What did we learn around project integration management, about developing charters, objectives, and goals, around scope management, and everything we did around requirements and the work breakdown structure, project time management, and all that work we did with Microsoft Project and learning scheduling basics, quality management, how do we use controls, how do we implement quality assurance, human resource management and everything we talked about, leadership and management skills, project communication management, a huge part of every project manager's life. We talked about risk management, identification, management, and mitigation of risks. And then there's project procurement management, and we did a lot around cost estimation and budgeting. There are so many different lessons we've learned over the last 7 weeks. One of our final assignments is, well, the final exam, and that's due on day 4, which is Monday by midnight Eastern Time, and that's an assessment type activity up in Angel. Now, 25% of the questions will be on chapters 1 through 8, but the majority come from what we've done since the midterm. Now, there are 25 questions of 3 different types: true, false, multiple choice, and fill in the blank, and they're worth 4 points apiece. Now, all the deadlines for week 7.5 are Monday by midnight Eastern Time, and that's because grades have to be submitted immediately after the last day of class. So unfortunately, there are no late submissions. There is no late period for week 7.5. Everything submitted by Monday at 11:59:59, well, that's okay. But if it comes in Tuesday morning at 1 second after midnight, it will have to get a 0. One last thing as a brief reminder, you've put so much work and energy into your final portfolio project. Please post that up to Optimal Resume so that you have it at the end of your degree program when you go out looking for a job to impress employers. So here's our checklist again. We have a chapter to read, a 3-part, mostly reflective discussion question, and then the final exam and a reminder to upload your portfolio project to Optimal Resume. And this being our last class and my last video lecture, I'd like to thank you all for a wonderful semester, and I wish you all the best on your journey toward your diploma. Well, thank you all, and if you have any questions, please shoot me an email or post your question up to an appropriate forum in Angel, like the questions forum. Thank you all, and let's have an excellent week.